But honestly, depending on how things look after this election, I might be feeling like the USA is over for a while, depending on what happens. Um, the problem with the USA right now, and I said this yesterday, but looking around on the internet at what people are saying and what news outlets are doing and what technology companies are doing, I'm basically realizing that I can't really respect anybody, and very few people have competence and integrity as high priorities, which are the people I want to hang out with. And certainly, almost nobody is trying to solve problems in the US. They're just trying to go through political processes. I don't care about political processes. I want to solve all these problems that we have, many of which are honestly not very hard to solve. And so it's really embarrassing that we haven't just fixed them, right? And so, we might be seeing the end state of a rich democracy right now, right? We might be seeing what happens when, well, not exactly right, but you know what I mean by democracy, right? We might be seeing what happens when a rich democracy destroys itself because it's bred people who are too weak, um, and greedy and selfish and uh, don't want to be smart or do the right thing, right? So I don't know. And what I'm saying here is not really contingent on who wins the election, because I'm seeing this in both sides, man. So uh, we'll see. But I'm not feeling good about the USA right now. I talked about there being no respect for competence in the US. Can I talk about how I've come across that? Well, I mean, it's everywhere, honestly, but if you want to talk about the election, there was exactly one candidate in the Democratic primaries who demonstrated a personality of paying serious attention to problems and attempting to solve them in intelligent ways and creative ways. And that candidate uh, was treated kind of like a clown and all but laughed off the stage by the major media companies, and the people just let that happen and or didn't care. So whoever gets elected president, y'all get what you deserve, as far as I'm concerned. Yang just had one solution to everything. No, I mean, he had a lot of ideas. It's just he had a primary one that he was using as marketing. And I'm not even sure if that was the right idea. But what I'm saying is, he was clearly an intelligent person who was trying to solve problems and not just play politics. Rip. Do I think it's possible to salvage the USA? I don't know. Um, I don't know. But I do know that I don't feel as at home here as I once allowed myself to. I look at a lot of these people and institutions and the way they're behaving and saying, I'm not sure that I see much of value in these institutions anymore. I'm not sure I want to live around here anymore. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Do I think the core problem of USA is capitalists maximizing profits through any means necessary? No. That is not even in the top 10 problems that we have. If I stopped using social media and watching the news, would I really notice the degradation of the US? I would notice that all our educational institutions are stupid and kind of useless now. And I would notice that our governments are kind of stupid and useless. Like, I'm having to escape California right now because California is kind of a failed state. That has nothing to do with me being on social media. We can't even stop this virus that's actually pretty easy to stop. Like, if you made me benevolent dictator of the USA starting today, we could stop it pretty quickly and everybody would be happy with the solution. Um, I don't know. We're just a bunch of fuck ups right now. Like, we can't do anything. It's embarrassing. What would I say are the top three problems in the US? The number one problem is the inefficiency of government. We spend a tremendous amount of money to do very little, which has two sides to it that are both bad, right? It's the side of draining the money out of the productive economy, right? And then it's the opportunity cost of we could have done these good things, but didn't. Um, Problem number two is related but different. It's that we don't solve problem number one because nobody seems to think it's a problem or care enough about it, right? So on the Republican side, everybody's like, we need to make government smaller, which is a little bit more correct, actually, I think, because if the government is so inefficient and terrible at using money, you should make it smaller, right? But Democrats are always like, oh, well, if we just raised taxes, we would solve all these problems, which is obviously not true because the money isn't being used effectively now, right? You see this in places like California. California has the highest taxes in the USA. It's also the worst standard of living in the, well, that's a little bit of it. You could find isolated spots that are worse, but like, if you somehow normalized over how nice various places in California are supposed to be relative to others, like for density of size of city and things like that, it's the worst. It has the most money per capita, and it's the worst place per capita. Like, what's going on? More money isn't going to solve that problem, right? And so the US government has a version of the same problem. It's just less terminal, right? California is clearly a failed state right now. The US is on its way there, but isn't there yet. But in the same way that California can't stop fires that it's known about that have been happening regularly for 4 years, or even do anything intelligent about them, or even say anything intelligent when it happens the fourth year in a row and nobody's surprised. The US can't stop this virus. It's not that hard to stop. Yeah, that looks like a failed state to me to some degree. Problem number one is getting private corporate money out of politics. No, that's completely false. Private corporate money has nothing to do with it. You're listening to the brainwashing. Look, if you watch the news or you go on Twitter or you listen to conversations about politics that are happening, they're all sports coverage, right? By which I mean they're all, oh, this team is doing this strategy, or this team is up by 2 points, or this team has, this talking point today, and this is why it's true, or this is why it's false, right? It's all nonsense. It all has nothing to do with what exactly are our problems and how do we solve them, right? A competent, serious, responsible population would be talking about during an election time, how are we actually going to run the nation and what are the decisions that we are making about how to run the nation? Okay? Does not happen. 0% of the discussion is that. 0.00% of the discussion is that. It doesn't matter how much money goes into the system from corporations. Put more in, put less in, it'll be the same thing because the problem is the people. The problem is the people are very disappointing. Until you come to grips with that fact, you won't see what's going on. The people are very disappointing. You have to fix the people. And that takes a long time. It's not an easy fix. You have to educate people to be intelligent and responsible and reasonable from a young age. And we broke the system that does that. So it's not very easy to fix. Capitalism is 100% the issue. Nope. The only reason people are homeless and hungry is politics? No, that's also false. It's completely false. I can't believe some of the stuff you guys believe. Do I want communism? No. But I can't seriously believe all the corporate construction projects all over the place aren't rooted in money. When we talk about bad effects on the environment, we are most concerned with the city environment and all the roads and buildings and big boxes and trains, planes, and auto. Do you know the history of any communist country and how heavily and rapidly they industrialized and how poorly they treat the environment? Is not capitalism, guys. People who say that do not know anything about world history. It's astonishing. The US is much better environmentally than many places in the world that have much less capitalistic organizations. Just go anywhere, travel to some places, and you'll see this. Holy crap. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like, look, if you want communism, there are communist countries that you can go live in. There's not very many, but there are some. So you could just go there. Like, it's not that hard. Or if you think the economy should be more collective in the US, you can do that. Like, our economic system in the US allows you, and a number of people do things like this. Like, they start a restaurant with collective ownership by the employees, right? Or they start a small, technical company with collective ownership by the employees. And if you think that that's the best way to run something, then do that. And then get experience with that, and then come back and talk to me, all right? But like, nothing's stopping you from doing that. It's forcing everybody to do that that's highly objectionable. We weren't really talking about politics stuff, by the way. Categorizing that as politics stuff is, I think, incorrect. Okay? Like, we have a very serious problem. What we're talking about is whether Western civilization continues to be one of the top paradigms of how to exist, or whether it doesn't, whether it falls behind other things that people may not enjoy so much living under, right? And that'll happen because we just became too lazy, if it happens. That's not really politics. That's something different. And if you don't see that, then I'm sorry, but